give my vote.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
Even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream.
Yeah.
It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream.
Grant and Ryan, break it down. It's Sacktown, we're the crown.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of
Williams, the D-Box.
Bucks. Goodbye.
What's up, everybody?
Light the beam! Light it!
How's it going? Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Very important stuff. A full day of sports. My goodness. Dr. King, very kind of you to share your special day with the national stage, both in the NBA and the college football world. Notre Dame, Ohio State tonight. Anybody going to be watching? Finchy? I know which side of the aisle you come out on with that game. It's such an interesting game. Marcus Freeman, just upstart coach. His backstory being that he is the first African-American head coach to coach in the National Football Championship, or the College Football Championship as it is right now, but playing for Ohio State now with Notre Dame. A lot of good storylines in this one. Jack Sawyer, Ohio State, could get into all that, and we will. We've got the NFL as well to get into today. We are down to our final four. We've got some ridos as well. And was there anything else going on? I'm trying to think. Anything else important to us going on? Keon, help me out, buddy.
Where we at? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The Kings, winners of 9 of 10. They have won 9 of their last 10 games legitimately the hottest team in the NBA right now in a 10-game sample size, but we'll take it compared to what we were looking at when Mike Brown was fired. Hell of a run for this team. We're going to break it down. They've got to finish this homestand well. And look, it's beginning to feel like home at the G1C. Doug Christie instilling a lot of those old school sacramental mentalities, the different traits that you think of when it comes to Kings basketball historically and in its glory days, and communicating that in a way that is getting through to a degree with these players. Last night, they take care of business. Now, it wasn't exactly pretty at times, but the fact that the Kings covered a 17.5-point spread in a game that easily had trap written all over it, you're not going to get very many complaints out of me. Their next opponents, the Warriors, coming up. They're playing today, by the way. No Draymond Green. They are dinged up. Also, no Brandon Pajemski. Steph Curry looks like he's going to give it a go. So I invite your phone calls. I invite your participation in the chat. Let me know what you're doing, who you got tonight, what you want to talk about. Got plenty of audio from Doug Christie. We've got some thoughts on the games. We're going to go over some of the advanced stats. And one of the more bizarre things about last night, it almost like it felt like the game was secondary to a degree, secondary to Jonas Valanciunas having a public workout for the Kings, secondary to Kyle Kuzma going up and greeting Vivek before the game. It felt like there was almost as many eyeballs on those two as there actually were the game as a whole. And for good reason. Valanciunas had his best game points-wise of the season. He looked really good last night, to the point where on the post-game show, many of you were like, we got to get V. We got to get V. So I would pose this to you. At what cost? At what cost? Where is your breaking point to where it's like, yeah, I want V, but not for that? Because I don't think Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles are getting that done. Washington is in such a weird spot right now. Jerry and I talked about it at the half. They're lost as a franchise. You've got young guys starting. You've got vets coming off the bench. You've got a group that really is 15 individuals. It's really hard to call those guys a team. And you saw that reflected in their play last night. No disrespect to them. That's just where they're at. They are 1-17 on the road. They've won 6 games this season. One of the worst NBA teams that I think I've seen in the last 2 years. Now, is that going to change? Can that change? Absolutely. So they're going to want probably some future capital. That would be my guess. Future capital. And what do the Kings have? What are you willing to part with if that's the way you want to go? A lot of people like John Collins. Hell, there's a growing voice for the Kings not even to make a move at all. So we can hit all of that. Also, we're brought to you, forgot to tell you, by Bennett's West Side Grill. Go check them out. You can go watch the national title game tonight, get some happy hour. If you like, 2 to 6 p.m. at all 3 locations. We'll talk about them more here in a little bit. The Kings' next opponents, really big here. Not because it's the Warriors, not because it's national on TV, but what's big is they're going into this game having already secured a 500 record during this homestand, this 3-game homestand. And they're charging their batteries right now. They're gearing up because when we look at the schedule ahead, it's brutal. In fact, it's the first night of a back-to-back for the Kings. Starts off with the Warriors here at home. Then you head to Denver, second night of that back-to-back. So it's a good time to get charged up. Is Keon's ankle okay? He said it was after the game. But, kind of like Steph Curry, when you roll an ankle, and especially if you try to play through it, commonly you'll see guys tie their shoes up tighter. Obviously, sometimes you'll get your ankles taped. That ankle is compromised. I don't have an exact percentage. I'm not a doctor, so I can't break it down into those terms. But here's what I know from playing sports all my life. It's so much easier to roll that ankle again while you're playing on it sprained. And whether that's because it's shot up, whether that's just because the ligaments are stretched a little too thin, I'm sure it's a combination of all those things. So it wasn't a big surprise that Keon had a little tweak last night. He says he's good, but Steph, you got to watch that tonight if he's going to give it to go. In fact, let's check out the NBA scoreboard right now because there are a lot of games going in the NBA early because of Dr. Martin Luther King Day. The Knicks knock off the Hawks 99-94. You've got the Cavs who are leading right now, up 20 on the Suns. That's big for the West. 82-62. That one, 5:18 left in the third quarter. Celtics Warriors tipping off here in just a little bit. We'll have our eyes on that one. The Mavs lose to the Hornets. So the Kings getting a lot of help. Can you get that again today from the Jazz and the Celtics? Let's hope so. But they lose to the Hornets 110-105. The Pistons beat the Rockets. The hell? 107-96. The Grizz beat the Timberwolves 108-106. This has been a good day if you are the Kings. This is a very good day. Doing nothing, resting up, getting ready to hit the practice court. You are getting a lot of help in front of you. So maybe it is just that time of the year for the Kings, and super excited. Again, didn't think we were going to get this reset button. Happy everyone's here. Let's check in with all you really quick, and then we're going to hear from Coach Christie and get this thing going. Curry is playing, but he's quote unquote iffy for tonight's game or today's game. Hope the T-Wolves lose to the Grizzlies. Yeah, look, the Kings have gotten help from everybody in front of them right now. Let's hope that continues. Ash, what's up? I know you guys, you and your pops are going to be watching that football game tonight. I'm going to be watching it closely too. Ant, what's up, man? Ant-Man's Timberwolves lost. Think the Kings are in 8th place now. Yeah, we'll check the standings here in a little bit. No move at all would be a joke. Mars says, Mars, I'm kind of with you. We'll hit it here in a little bit. I just don't think it would be naive. Very naive, regardless of this stretch. Let's say the Kings win their next 4 in a row too, to think that that team is going to take you where your goals were at the start of the season. It's not. We have a bigger sample size saying as much. Now, are they in a better spot? Certainly. But history tells us the Western Conference does not wait around. If you're good, you have to go get better. I used the Mavs last year at the deadline and the Lakers at the deadline before that as an example. So I'm with you, man. I think this is the one. Something's got to be done. It's not. This is no longer a snapshot into right now. This has to be a little bit of a zoom out and really look at the whole 2.5 years of this Beam team. You've kept it the same at the deadline for 2 years in a row. What has it gotten you? 1 playoff run and a 7-game loss in a series. So, yeah, I think if you break it down to the nuts and bolts, I'm with you, brother. Rock, what's up, dude? Monty has to make 1 move, in your opinion. Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody has an opinion, which is fine. We're here for it, but everybody has an opinion on who should be leaving and who should be coming in, which I think is going to be all the more interesting if we do get to the trade deadline and a move is made. Because how many of you are going to be okay with that move? Is it going to be like, oh, well, you know what? We should have kept Herter for that guy. We should have kept Lyles instead of that guy. I guess, like, if we had to rank them, and I know it's impossible because we're all watching from separate places, but if we had to rank in order, and you have to kind of hit it with some realism, you got to know, you got to be realistic. We're not talking about Kevin Durant. We're not talking about Ja Morant. Like, the order of guys that we would want to come to Sacramento, realistically, what is that? And I think Cam Johnson, if you're going to have him on the list, I think that's even a little bit lofty. I think you'd be giving up too much for Cam if they want a couple of first-round picks, which I don't even know the Kings draft pick situation. I'm not sure what they can and can't give up. But if we're going to put Cam on the list, I'm guessing it starts there. But again, I think it's a little bit, I think your eyes are bigger than your stomach with that move. So if it really starts under him, I think I'm still Collins and then Valanciunas. In fact, I would have a strong backup point guard then is my third, and then fourth, maybe Kyle Kuzma. I feel like for me, the ship has sailed on Kyle Kuzma. Everybody else might be a little bit different. Flores, less than a month before the trade deadline. I'll be surprised if no moves are made. We'll see. Monty and the team keeps it pretty close to the vest. We know that they've had talks with Brooklyn. They've had talks with Utah as well. It's the back end of it. It's the asking price. It's looking at and balancing really where this team is headed this season and what you might be giving up in making this team better in the long run to infuse this Kings team. as they sit today with some new energy, with some new talent? And what is the ROI on that realistically? Or is that going to take you from the play in to the playoffs? And even if you make the playoffs, this to me, I think anybody looking at this trade deadline as like we're going to win now if we go and make a move at this trade deadline, I don't think it's that type of move. I think it's more of a move that further solidifies the Kings window, or at least whatever we want to call this right now. I guess having the window seal cracked, having the door half open to being competitive and being a threat in the Western Conference. I think it's looking at that bigger picture over the next 2 years, over the next 18 months. But you could convince me otherwise. If you think there's a move that takes this team over the top, and this is a team that just needs a ticket to the dance, and they might be that one, they might be the Washington Commanders of the NBA, I'm open to listen, but you got to hit me up. Use the QR code. You can also use the link that is in the chat. Let's clean up the rest of this chat, and then we will get to Doug Christie. Could maybe get Tyus Jones for cheap. I don't think they're going to be parting with him, Arvin. They just got him. And in fact, if I had to look at guys on that Phoenix roster that you absolutely need to keep, he's one of them. Because last year was a disaster asking Devin Booker to be kind of that de facto point guard, because that's not what he does best. We're seeing the same things in some ways right now with Domantas Sabonis. The ball is less in his hands, less being asked to make a play, running a DHO, rather than him being on the receiving end of a pick and roll, him posting up down low, him grabbing rebounds. His stat line last night, to me, is dream Domantas Sabonis stat line. Triple-doubles every night, not realistic. If you need a triple-double from him every night to win, then your team is not correctly balanced. You need to look at that balance again. But you get 29 points, you get 18 rebounds, 4 assists. Now, the one line that I didn't like, 5 turnovers. That's something that he's been a little bit iffy on. I don't know why we keep using the word iffy today, but his turnover numbers have been a little iffy at times this year. I'd like to see that cleaned up, but that's the Domas stat line that you want. And so taking away Tyus Jones, I think puts Phoenix into a very weird spot again, almost a spot like you're seeing Minnesota in right now. You don't have a true distributor there that can facilitate between Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. And it's causing them some issues. So and I know you got Mike Conley, but Mike Conley is not Mike Conley from 10 years ago. Love you to rank these additions for the Kings: Valanciunas, Collins, Cam Johnson. Number one is the hardest one for me there. That is the toughest one between Cam and Collins. I will rank it. Let me think about it, because I just really like Jerry Reynolds, and I have had many conversations about this offline. Both we've done it on the show too, but a lot of conversations offline. This John Collins move just seems to really fit into, in both of our opinions, kind of the fabric that this team's moving towards, and it really fits with what they want to do on the court immediately. I mean, he's turnkey ready for the Kings, but that then puts you into the position that we've talked about many times. Some of you, Progressive has been all over this. I think Athena Channel has been all over this. Size. Lydia comes in here. Size. The Kings need size, and I get that too, but size can slow you down as well. Kings only getting better and bigger, or by getting bigger and more physical. See, it's something to it. I'm hearing you. Am I afraid to play the Kings right now? Are you afraid to play the Kings? I don't know. We've got a meeting in about a week. We'll see. Can't stop looking at the standings as we slowly climb. So exciting. Yeah. Good time to be a Kings fan. Indeed. Doug Christie hit the podium last night after the game. Proud of the guys for what they did. I mean, again, we got to remember, this was not an easy game 2 seasons ago. And a month ago, we probably would say this would not be an easy game. But the Kings were able, although it wasn't pretty, to make it fairly easy. Doug Christie last night after the game.
Congratulations to DeMar for getting 29th all-time in the NBA in scoring. That is that's special. If you pass Allen Iverson in anything, you're doing something. So, to my man, much respect. DeMar is what a pro is all about. This was a professional win, I thought, and that's kind of how I address a team before the game, is just the ability to be a pro and handle your business. You go out, and as I talked to you guys before the game, it's faceless. It's about you. It's about your process of play to play, night to night, and being about your business. And to those guys in that locker room,
they handled their business indeed. 123-100. Turnovers, a little bit more than you would like. Also, the fouls. The Kings hacked the Wizards in the second half. It was a very painful game, especially the second half to sit through with all of the free throws. Kings shot the free throws okay, not as good as against Houston, but hell, you're not going to go 13 for 13 in the fourth quarter every single night. Good thing was this one was out of control by about the first 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. The young guys end up getting some run towards the end. Of note, here was something interesting. Kevin Huerter, until the garbage time, only played 6 minutes in this one. 6 minutes. So take that for what you will. Doug Christie continues to talk about, the media continues to talk about, I continue to talk about, it's the title of the show today, Beginning to Feel Like Home. The slow change, the transformation of the Golden One Center, the fans, the players playing off of the fans, defense turning into offense, understanding what fuels this fan base. And as Doug Christie continues to say, the byproduct of those things most times will be wins. Something he keeps preaching. Here was Doug again after the game.
I mean, the record obviously is not where we want it, but I think that whenever you take pride and love something up with your heart, you can feel it. And that's really all it's about for our fans, is like, you can feel the vibe in the building. You can feel the energy in the building. And these guys come here to, I mean, in essence, put on the show. That's what they're here to do. And there isn't no right or wrong. It's, are you doing it the right way? Are you playing for each other? And if you're doing that, we live with the results. And I know one thing about our fans, they respect the hell out of that. And that's what they've been doing. Now, the byproduct that it has been winning, it won't always be that. But when they walk off the floor, I want the fans to understand that these.
The team appears to be having fun too. I think that is a very important thing to note. I loved when Isaiah Crawford got his, I believe it was his first NBA basket. I loved seeing the guys getting up for him, getting jazzed, just as excited as Malik's windmill dunk. That's what it is all about. Now, as of a couple hours ago, here was the Western Conference picture. It is fluid because teams are playing as we speak. But as many of you have mentioned in the chat, the Kings continue to creep up. We've got an ESPN article that we're going to go over here in a little bit, forecasting the Western Conference and putting each team into different tiers, where ESPN Plus and its writers see the West ending up. Now we're just over the halfway point of the season at 42 games. 43 will be Wednesday on national TV against the Warriors. So still a lot of basketball to play. But as I've said in the last couple shows, number one, forget about it. It's done. One is locked in. Oklahoma City is not looking back. I think Houston and Memphis probably brawl it out for 2 and 3, but beyond that, it's up for grabs. Denver's sitting there at 16 losses. Kings, 20 losses, 4 full games in the loss column. Important, not insurmountable. Now, I'm not trying to set you up for a Rhino thinks the Kings are going to be the 4 seed in the West. No, it's not what I'm saying, but I'm telling you, that's not 10 games. It's not 15 games. It's reachable. 4 games is not that far. And you look at the parity beyond that. Dallas coming into today. Look at that. Right there in the loss column with the Kings. Same thing with Minnesota. Same thing. Actually, the Lakers have a couple more or a couple up on the Kings, but I see the Lakers going the opposite direction, which we can talk about more in a little bit. Here was DC again, talking more about the culture and some of the individual play.
It's big time because I've always thought that a home court, you have to learn how to use it. And we never really understood how to vibe with our fans to our advantage. And part of that is, like, I've been in that situation, and I know that when you get the opportunity to do that, you do that. And they're going to give it up to you. So those type of moments, I'm excited for them. I'm for the fans, but even like my guys, I'm like super excited because I know, like, it means everything to the players. They're playing hard. They're working together. They're doing all the things that we're asking of them. And then the fans come out and they support them. And that really, it means everything.
DC, we know De'Aaron Fox can score. This is back-to-back games where he hasn't really had to or hasn't had the scoring nights that we've come used to, but a 13-assist night tonight, made some big winning plays against Houston defensively, especially in the fourth quarter. How valuable is it to have a star that can go beyond just putting the ball in the bucket, and when he's having a quote-unquote off night, he can impact the game in other ways?
You know, I told you guys before the game, like, in my opinion, this isn't an off night for De'Aaron because scoring isn't everything in basketball. Like, this guy is, like, he's like that. And the fact that he can affect the game without putting the ball in the bucket all the time is next level, man. Like, he's drawing people, finding people, and then guess what? On the night when it clicks, you're gonna be like, damn. And like, I am super excited and proud of him, man. Like, how he goes about his business. There are times where I'm like, you want this play? He's like, nah, my man's rolling. Let's rock with it. And I'm like, okay. Like, that's maturation. That's leadership. I'm here to win the ball game. I'm not here to be whatever everyone thinks I need to be. And that, to me, is everything. To watch him go on the journey and then to be on the journey with him. Like, this is probably, it sounds weird, but one of his better games. Like, he controlled the game in a way that the stats don't indicate.
Interesting comments there by Doug on Foxy, and I actually don't disagree. I don't disagree whatsoever. I would draw an example to a past king, and he's not a popular king. In fact, he's one of the least popular kings, but it's Buddy Hield. Look at the success that Buddy Hield is having with the Warriors this season. For once in his career, he has embraced what his role is. Now, part of that's not on Buddy. If his coaches, his teams didn't have roles, it wasn't ever discussed, then so be it. But Buddy always kind of just saw himself as that star. Like, I'm the best dude on the court. And at times, his decision-making, for better or worse, would reflect that. But now in Golden State, 6-man, come in, make threes, handle your business. He's in the running for 6-man of the year. As goofy as that sounds. And the version of De'Aaron Fox that we saw last night, he was a plus 24. He only scored 12 points. 12 points, but he was a plus 24. He had 13 assists, which was 3 off his career high, and the ball moved. He only shot 5 3-pointers. That last night, now I'm not saying that is exactly the De'Aaron Fox that you need for this team to be successful, but that's closer, in my opinion, to the De'Aaron Fox. If this team wants to play this team style of basketball that we keep talking about, if you want to move more towards the Houstons of the West that have 7 guys in double figures, that is more of the style that I think a De'Aaron Fox fits into. Now, is that something De'Aaron can do consistently? Number one, that's the first question. Number two, is that something that De'Aaron wants to do consistently? That's the second question. And 12 points, De'Aaron could have had 30 last night. He easily could have had 30. He chose not to have 30. He picked his spots, and when he picked them, he was effective. Now, beyond the three-point line, still a little bit of an issue. Again, I said I don't have a problem with the three-point total for him, 5 shots in all. But the three-pointers to me is what sometimes makes or breaks whether that ball is moving for this team. And all too often, it stops in his hands with a spot-up 3. So I was very happy with his play, very happy with what he did in terms of administrating, touching the paint, and getting the guys the ball that needed the ball at certain times of the game, like your Keon Ellis's. How about Keon last night? We haven't said his name yet other than the ankle sprain. He was incredible from beyond the arc last night. De'Aaron was seeking him out, and most of the team was seeking him out. Loved to freaking see it. So good job by Foxy last night. And the defense the last couple games from De'Aaron has been excellent as well. Here's the other part of De'Aaron's game that I really liked last night. Only 2 turnovers. 2 turnovers. Can't argue with that whatsoever. So a lot more still to talk about with this one, a lot to talk about under the surface about what this team might do with the deadline, what they might not do. We've got NFL football still to talk, not national championship game, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Why is there such a big spread? 9 points in that game. Seems a little bit too much for me. And we do also have some ridos. We've got a rido, and it is NFL related. In fact, it is commentator related in the NFL. I think it'll make everybody either laugh or kind of cringe. We'll see. So back to the chat. Rather Collins or Valanciunas as opposed to Cam at a premium. Yeah, see, you know what? You nailed it. You nailed it, Ibrahim. You freaking nailed it. That was exactly, I did not put it into words, but that was exactly what was going through my mind. It's if Collins and Valanciunas are on the table, possibly for this team, and then there's Cam Johnson on the table, but it's going to take that extra premium to get Cam. I kind of like going the other route with Valanciunas or Collins if you don't have to give up the premium, because I don't think the exchange and what you're going to get is going to be that much better. Could be. I just don't think it will be. So well done by you. Way to pen that one out. Couldn't agree more. In fact, I acknowledge that.
Acknowledge me.
Do you think the Kings would actually end up regretting trading away Trey Lyles? He's a solid glue guy. You know, offensively, no. I don't think that's where you'll miss him. But defensively, I think that, as funny as it sounds, because the things that Trey does defensively a lot of times don't show up on the stat sheets. They don't. His rebounding shows up, but other than that, it's the little things. It's the awkward matchups. It's having to play bigger guys. It's the scrappiness. I mean, if we had to list out the guys that have the quote unquote dog in them on this Kings team, Trey Lyles is on that short list. So I think depending on who the replacement is, you might miss that a little bit, but you also got to remember Trey's contract is up at the end of this year. And I don't think, I haven't asked the question, I haven't heard anything conversely. I don't think the Kings bring Trey back. Again, that's just the feeling in my gut. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It really depends on what you get in exchange. Why was Tyus Jones even a free agent for so long? Because Washington, they didn't know what the hell they were doing, number one. Pretty clear by what their roster is doing this season. But two, the new CBA, it's changed so much. I think teams were very, very cautious this last free agent cycle to take any big risks. Everything was calculated. And I think for the first time in a while, a lot of teams waited and looked around to see what other teams were doing, to see if other teams were going to go into the aprons and over the cap, and then kind of pounced and made moves. So the fact that the biggest thing to me is Malik Monk. He did not even test his free agency. And I think part of that was not really attributed to his value in terms of what he brings to a team, but I think it was more of that signing period. I think it was just teams were not, unless you were a solidified, a bona fide number one guy, a Lowry Markkanen, a Paul George, which, by the way, I don't agree that Paul George is that guy, but some people have Paul George in that category, then those guys were going to get paid. But beyond that, it was just a little bit of a wild card. So teams waited to see. And obviously, he ended up where he did in Phoenix. That was like one of the worst ones. When we saw Tyus Jones go to Phoenix, I remember having conversations with some people offline, like scratching our heads, because it was like that exact piece that you didn't want Phoenix to get, because if you watch Phoenix closely, you knew what the problem was. And had I been in that front office, I would have been going straight point guard quicker than they did, but they got who they wanted. So good enough for them. Can imagine the alley oops from Monk to Collins. Monk can throw a oop to anybody, man. Monk could throw an oop to Draper. The ball's right at the rim. It's always so perfect. Lau, Kings already made a big move, bringing in Christie as head coach. Yeah, he's doing a good job. What am I going to say? He is doing a really good job. He has re-energized this team and re-energize the fan base. I mean, there's nothing more that you can say other than that. I mean, the only gripe that I have about this entire thing, and I don't think it's Doug's fault. I have no way of knowing, but I don't think it's Doug's fault. But the way that it came about, the way that it was handled, that to me was the bigger problem. And that is the bigger worry for me. Even if this team has success in the interim with Doug as its coach, is it going to affect the Kings down the road? Are players in free agency, and I know the Kings don't get a ton of them usually, but are agents going to kind of nudge their player and say, hey, you don't want to go there. They don't do business the right way. And there's certain teams that don't sit there and shake your head in your living room or in your car or in your cubicle, wherever you are right now. Don't shake your head and be like, come on, Rhino, it doesn't matter. It does matter. Now, Vivek's not up there with James Dolan and some of those other terrible owners in the NBA, but you don't want to be in that category. You don't. And if you got your coach and it's Doug Christie, hell yeah, then you don't have to worry about going after another coach. But this is where it gets weird. I know Monty McNair's contract's going to be coming up soon. So usually a GM and a coach are in lockstep, much like we saw Monty and Mike Brown when they came in together. Now, Monty was here a little bit before Mike Brown, but Monty was part of the hiring process with Mike Brown. How's that going to play out? What if Doug doesn't want Monty? That's all well and fine and interesting, but I just don't like the black eye on Sacramento. It's like we can't get out of our own way when it comes to handling business the right way. Because whether you wanted Mike Brown to go or whether you wanted him to stay, I would hope that we can all agree on the fact that the way it was done was wrong. That should have been handled much differently. Payne, 55 mil for 12 months. 55 mio. What's up? Al, what's up, my man? Tough loss this weekend, Al. Tough one for the Rams, but hell of a comeback. Hell of a comeback by them. We'll keep getting to some more of these in a second. Let's go back to DC last night.
Keon was just here, and he kept saying, I really just be chilling. And it does seem to be Keon, like, in a nutshell. He goes out there, just drops in 18 points on 6 of 8 from 3 or whatever it was. Just how impressive is it, the way he just goes out there and just, it's so instinctual in what he's doing?
Yeah, he just be chilling. Keon is, I've told you guys before, like, he has things that you don't teach. There's instincts and timing and different things on defense. He's found his way and found his shot, and shooting is it comes and goes, but he continues to hone it. He continues to work on it. And I try to just give him the confidence that shoot the basketball. If you're open, we trust you. We watch you do your work, so we know that if someone's going to shoot it, you're one of our best guys. Let that thing fly. And then defensively, he takes on the toughest opponent. So I have a massive amount of respect for what Keon brings to us.
It's such an interesting conversation with Keon. I tried to open the can of worms on it last night, but there wasn't enough time, and we were having some tech issues on the back end with taking calls. So I was all scattered and trying to get that worked out and not have it show in the product of the post game show. But do we really know what the ceiling's going to be for Keon Ellis? If you talk about a basketball journey, he is so young in it still. He was an undrafted free agent to a two-way guy, to elevated to a full roster spot, then thrown into the starting lineup, then taken out of the starting lineup, now back in heavily to the rotation. And the more minutes this young man gets, the better he seems to play. Is it something where you've got to get Keon Ellis some more shots? That was a funny play last night, by the way. Keegan just got absolutely manhandled, and the refs didn't call anything. What are we doing? Yes, refs, I've got something for you here in a little bit. But Keon, back to him, getting him some more looks within the offense, his defense, it's just sustainable. It's hectic. It's ferocious at times, but it's also controlled at times. So I don't know what the ceiling is for him. And I'm talking realistically. I'm not saying this guy is going to be an NBA All-Star. I'm not saying this guy is going to lead the league in 3-point percentage. But do the Kings really understand quite yet what Keon could be? How important of a piece Keon possibly is to a future here? Because we've looked at the 5-man rotations for the Kings so far this season, and there's a 5-man rotation that does not include Fox, where the numbers are through the roof, and there's 101 minutes there that they have played together. Now, I'm not saying that me saying that is not trade Fox. Me saying that is you clearly have 5 pieces of the 9-10-man puzzle in terms of a rotation that you need to have to be a contender in the Western Conference. Because not only are those numbers above the Kings season averages per 100 possessions, they're far above many of the other averages of teams that are ahead of them into the standings. It was one of those things that we were asking ourselves when the Kings were in their losing streak. It's like, why is the net rating still positive? Why are the numbers indicating that this team should be doing so much better than they actually were? And I think a lot of it was the infrequency of Keon's minutes, especially towards the end of Mike Brown's tenure. It was the little things like that. It was finding the right combinations that Mike Brown couldn't ultimately put his finger on. But now Doug Christie seems to have a decent idea about it. And so that's why I brought up the Kevin Huerter minutes. Only 6 minutes last night in a game where Devin Carter was not available. So are we going to see Kevin kind of phased out a little bit more? Doug talked about Kevin after the game, and Doug kind of said the same stuff. He's like, Kevin, he's an important part of what we do, and he's just got to keep shooting his shot. The same kind of stuff that we've heard about Kevin, but I don't know. Maybe Kevin is playing himself, or I shouldn't say playing himself, out of a role on this team. Maybe Keon, and to a degree, Devin Carter, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, are playing themselves into that role for Doug Christie. But Keon Ellis, man, that is a guy, when I look at the core, when I look at the Cam Johnson possibilities, if I put myself into a general manager's chair for another team, why wouldn't I ask about Keon Ellis? I mean, wouldn't I not be doing my due diligence if I didn't ask? Double negative. I don't know why I keep doing that. But look at his contract. It's on the cheap. $2.1 million this season. Next season, $2.3 million. That's a team option. The Kings are going to pick that up ASAP. So, Al, let me see the direct phone line. Yeah, the direct phone line's working, my man. You just got to give it a call, 916-822-9485. If you want to get in on the show that way, you are more than welcome. We set that up for Al since he could not call through Restream. But yes, you can call that number as well, and we'll get you in on the show on this Martin Luther King Jr. Day. A big day around the world, here in the United States, and definitely in the sports world as well. Talking Kings, we're going to be talking the ESPN article that came out today about the Western Conference. Also going to talk some football here in a little bit. Before all that, let's go to the phones and welcome Al into the show. Al, what's up, man?
Ryan, I'll keep it quick because I know we're pretty much focused on the Kings and everything they're doing. But man, I thought they're gonna steal one at the end yesterday, but they get down to the 13-yard line, and it's third and 2, and then Carter sacks Stafford, pushes it back another 10 yards, and then a fourth down, ball slipped out of his hands. But they almost stole one. It was a weird game. I mean, I've seen a lot of Rams football in 55 years, and I look at Barkley. He has 26 carries, 205 yards, right?
Yeah.
Now, 2 carries went for a total of 140 yards, 2 long touchdowns, and then the other 24 goes for a total of 65. So he's like, the Rams, it reminded me of Eric Dickerson, teams would stop him, and then all he needed was a crack or a crease, and it's a house call,
Right.
It was insane.
Hey, Al, that was
Yeah,
a hell of a run by the Rams, especially considering, take the fire out of it, just to get themselves in that position with a underperforming or NFC West, and the way that the Rams somehow find a way to play their best football late in the seasons. That's really respectable.
It was a strange season. I mean, they ended up to see every week really was a war. It was a 1-score win. I'm telling you, I went to the Raiders game. I flew down to L.A. My brother covers me for one game a year. He lives down there. And from the Raiders game, they won on their little streak. But every week, Brian, it was a battle for them to get the win. They didn't really blow anybody out, and they've got a good young core of players. With their last 2 drafts, they've really stockpiled some talent, so the future is bright. But hats off to the Eagles. I love Barkley, man. He's a difference maker for the Eagles, man. I don't know if they are where they are without him, because Hurts, he seems to be. I know he got twisted up. It was ugly. Did you see that play? That didn't look good.
Yeah, where his leg or his knee kind of twisted below him.
Yeah. And he went back out there, but he couldn't have been 100%, you know. And I'll tell you to the other games real quick, and I'll let you go. You know, I don't know why the Lions seem to come out throwing. I mean, you got the thunder and lightning. You got Gibbs, and you know it was working. And they're throwing the ball, and they're doing these idiotic, you know. I know this is Ben Johnson, but you know this. Ground pound them, man. The Commanders, they don't D up the run. You know, play to their weakness, and Gibbs touched the ball 20 times, Ryan, for like 160-something yards, man. He's got to have more touches than that.
Al, I'm with you, brother. The decision making, the fact that they called that trick play in that position, I'm just like, if that doesn't encapsulate the Rams, and I guess like they're either getting blackjack or they're busting, like with their play calls, their decision making. It was insane. But I'm with you, brother.
And Goff, man, I don't know how could they not call a penalty? I got to tell you, Ryan, he went to the tent, but I don't. I played football in high school. I think you probably played at a higher level. He was coof, man. He couldn't have all his faculties together. He looked woozy. He got right under the chin, man. It was a nasty hit.
Yeah, you know who else?
Yeah, go ahead.
Josh Allen also took one. It was a funny weekend, Alex. I was going to get to this talking NFL, and I know the big talk nationally is about the roughing the passer calls on Mahomes, but it looked like the rest of the quarterbacks took some especially bad hard shots that were obvious penalties, and maybe it's because we were all looking for it and nothing was called. Nothing.
You know, and everybody, you know, the Chiefs are this decade's version of the Patriots. You know, they've won 3 out of the last 4 Super Bowls. Everybody hates the Chiefs. The refs are favoring the Chiefs and Mahomes. I did have to laugh though. He tries to sell it, man. Did you see the one player where the guy pushes him out of bounds and he does like a bloody flop? Man, he literally tries to, you know, oversell it and flop out of bounds. Like, come on, man.
Why not? You know, I'm not going to hate on him for that. That's part of gamemanship. It's part of the game.
You know, I think, but you know, Jaden Daniels, from my take, all the years I've watched NFL, and that's been over 6 decades, he's the most poised rookie quarterback I've ever seen. I mean, he's just poised. He doesn't look like he's rattled. And, you know, the Eagles better not think they've got this, you know, covered, because, you know, Daniels can get it done, but they're going to have to figure out how to stop the beast at number 26, man, because he's like, to me, again, Dickerson, you know, I keep saying that when the one play at a Rams game, he does a jump cut, and the safeties are out of position, and the linebacker, and then he does a jump cut at the line, and then he gets high geared in the first 3 steps, and he's gone.
Yeah. No, he's very special. There's no doubt about that. So
yeah, who do you like in the championship games?
You know what? I'm riding the Commanders. I think the Commanders beat the Eagles. I think that they're going to just play a smarter game than the Eagles. I think they'll probably be able to stop the run a little bit better than the Rams did, as funny as that sounds. I just think there's some magic right now happening in DC, and you ride that. I don't feel the same way about Philly. Yeah, they've had a good season, but it hasn't been quote unquote magical, and the NFL is all about getting hot at the end of the year. And for the other side of it, I don't know, man. How do you go against Mahomes? I'd be an idiot to go against Mahomes.
Yeah. You never want to bet against Mahomes, man. You know, the Ravens did Mark Andrews. I felt bad for the guy. Even though I'm a Rams fan, there's some guys that I just feel bad when they've got one of those infamous plays. And here's the guy. Ryan, it's only his 2nd fumble in his career. And he's been in the league for like 8 years. And you know, couldn't have come at a worse time. And then, you know, Jackson puts one on the ground and they pick it up and they get a short score out of that, throws a pick. And the Ravens, you know, it was there for the taking, but, you know, Allen and the Bills held on, and then the drop on the 2-point. I mean, he couldn't have had a worse. And he's a heck of a tight end. I felt bad for him.
Couldn't agree with you more. Al, thanks for the call, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care, man. Thanks for listening.
Of course. Al using his phone line. I love it. Good job, Al. Can get with that, my man. Court's in session, Al. Way to go, brother. Today is a good day to be a Kings fan. Yes, indeed. It is. Kings 2 games above 500. Lau, I see your stat. We'll get to that. That's pretty impressive. I like that. Says a lot. We've been putting up the 5-man statistics a lot around here. I have not looked the other way with the defense, though. Makes a lot of sense there. Thank you, Progressive, for that. Let's see. Kevin. Yeah, I guess.
Acknowledge me.
I got you, Kevin. Doug sees Keon as a young version of himself. Well, there's not a better guy to learn from or to model your game after if you're Keon Ellis. Their games couldn't be more similar in terms of the way that they make an impact. Now, Doug, Jerry Reynolds has said for a long time, better playmaker than Keon. But guess what? Keon's in what? Year 3, year 2 of the NBA? Come on. He's going to be just fine, in my opinion. That's why I'm just so excited to see what is next for him. He's only going to get better. That's the thing. As the minutes go up, he will continue to get better. Yeah, he's going to stumble here and there. That's part of the progression. But he's special. He is definitely special. And hell, credit again. I go back all the time to this, not just to the Sacramento Kings, but the Stockton Kings in their program, led by Gabriel Harris and Quentin Crawford down there. Last year, Lindsey Harding, G League Coach of the Year. There's a reason a lot of these guys have been able to seamlessly step into what the Kings are doing and play roles because they were doing the same things down there. It was being taken seriously down there. Points of emphasis overlapped. Playing at a high pace. Getting used to the DHOs. Not being asked to go out and score 50 points a night. And just do your thing. It's a G League game. Who cares? No. It's playing in structure. It's also scouting. Keon Ellis was not drafted. Think about that. You got to give a lot of credit. And I get there under one roof, Stockton and Sacramento. You have got to give a hell of a lot of credit to the program down in Stockton. One of the better programs in the G League. It's doing wonders. It's done well for Keon. Mason's doing really good down there. Isaac has been down there. So that is, with this NBA and this CBA that's in effect, it is by far probably the most underrated asset right now that an NBA team can have. And that is a strong farm system, a strong G League system. Because, yeah, it's the feeder to the NBA, but the fact that you're not going to see super teams anymore, you're going to see mid-level exceptions disappear for some teams with the new aprons and penalties. That's going to redistribute some of the NBA talent, but it's not going to completely offset the fact that you need to be able to draft well and develop well, guys, in the first 4 years. And not just that, you got to sell them on the team in those first 4 years. You got to get them to want to stay with you after the first 4 years, something the Kings are going to be looking at with Keegan Murray coming up here in a little bit. Let's see, 100s across the board. Ryan, how does the chemistry get disrupted with a new person? It shouldn't. That's the thing. It shouldn't. Now, you're going to have a little bit of bumpiness in terms of learning the system. Most NBA systems, especially defensively, very similar. There's not a lot that is different team to team. It's just the wrinkles and the nuances. And the learning curve is learning your teammates, what spots they like on the court, where they're probably going to be on certain plays, or, you know, like it's the little stuff like that, where they like the ball. you'll have a little bit of bumpiness there, but bringing in somebody that should have already been considered in bringing them in, that the chemistry should fit. Now, could you have an outlier? Sure, that could totally happen. Just a guy does not work. What were we thinking? Bad move. It's happened in the past, but no, it should not get disrupted very much unless you're bringing in somebody that shocks the system. Somebody that it's like, hey, our system doesn't work, come in and take over. Then, yes, it can be disrupted very much so. Like if you brought a Luka in right now to the Kings, that would be very, very different for them. Very, very different. Not the best example, but I think you know what I'm saying. Progressive, don't think we need Cam Johnson. He would get in the way of Keegan Murray's development. I'd take Collins over Valanciunas because he's more athletic and versatile offensively. Yep, something to be said about that. Hey, Jerry and I talked about it last night. The size thing is important, but if you have a good zone defense, if you have two things, a very good zone defense, which the Kings are starting to show that they're going down that path. They have an effective zone. Now, the thing about a zone that's really important to know is it's not like a set defense where it's like this is what we do. A zone is ever evolving. You have to adjust the zone to who you're playing on many nights, depending on their talent, depending on what they have on the court and what they bring to the table. So the zone's kind of like anybody that's has a trust or works with legal documents like I used to do. Trust is a living document. It can be updated. It can be changed. It has to be revisited every so many months, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with the zone defense. So the size is not a big deal if you have one of those and you're doing those things with it, you're maintaining it. And then also your fundamentals. If you are a team who is very fundamental and you do the right things in basketball, I mean, almost like kind of old school. Jerry and I were talking about this. Fundamentals, when you see them, they stand out because you hardly see them at all in the NBA anymore. And that's part of what makes Domantas Sabonis as special as he is. It's why he's able to beat guys that are so much bigger than him. It's fundamentals. It's footwork. It's pump fakes. So if you have a team that is very fundamentally sound, then you can combat athleticism and size with fundamentals and his own defense. Now, it might not work every time, but most times you're going to have a shot to win. So I know a lot of people, the counter argument about the size. So get it. Good day, Cristobal. What's up, man? From Yuba City. Yuba City checking in. The Honkers. Man, I remember we used to go to Yuba City for football games. Cristobal, there wasn't much out in Yuba City when we went there for football games. I still remember the yellow and the brown team colors. But thanks for checking in from Yuba, out off 99. Love it, brothers. My brother Bill Walton would say.
It doesn't get any better than this.
It doesn't get any better than this. And to the stat that we were going to talk about, have you seen that the Kings lineup of Sabonis, Murray, DeRozan, Ellis, Monk has the best defensive rating league-wide? I have not seen that. Good stat by you. I have seen this. Let me go to it really quick. These are, offensively speaking, your 5-man ratings. With last night included. Now, if we can just get this little guy out of here. So the two highlighted cells right here, let's see if we can get that to come up. There we go. Oh, no, we wanted two of them. What are you doing? We wanted that one and that one, and you show the selected rows. There we go. So those two, the bottom one is the one that you're talking about right now, Urs. Hope I'm saying that right. Yours or Urs? Let me know if you can do that in the chat. But look at the numbers offensively per 100 possessions. Top one includes Fox. Bottom one does not. has Keon Ellis instead. They're through the freaking roof. So if you're telling me that they have the highest defensive rating per 5-man combinations, that means a good amount of the offense is coming from defense. Defense turning into offense. It was one of my keys to the game in the pregame show last game. And I think it was one of Katie's keys too. Look at Katie and I being on the same page. How about that? But offensively, are you kidding me? And so for all of you pro Fox people, because now we're part of two parties here in Sacramento, apparently, you're either anti or pro Fox. I'd like to think I'm in the middle. Can you just listen for 2 seconds to my argument right here? Just 2 seconds. I'm not anti-Fox. I'm pro-Kings and good basketball. So what I'm saying is you have 5 people on the team right there that play very, very well together without Fox on the floor. So much so that their numbers, their points, or up 22.5 over 100 possessions versus the Kings team statistics this year, over 100 possessions. Their field goal attempts are up 9.3. Now, here's what's interesting. Their made field goals are up 9.3. But their field goal attempts are only up 7.4. How could that be? How could they be making more field goals while taking less attempts? It's because of what Urs is pointing out. It's the defense creating offense for them. And as you go all the way across the board there, you can see it's a pretty damn good painting. Defensive rebounds, up 6. Offensive rebounds, up 5. Let's see. Free throw percentage, up 17.9. Defensive rebounding, up 5. Defensive rebounding percentage, I should say. Total rebounds, up 3.4. Assist, up 6.3. Steals, up 1.6. Blocks, up 3.5. Turnovers, down 4.1. And they're not fouling as much. Negative 0.2. So back to the Fox part of the equation. What I'm saying is I would be very hesitant to part with any of these 5 players that are showing they play very well together to improve this team and keep Fox. That's what my argument has been all along. These numbers right there, they do not lie to you. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. If you want a glimpse of what the Kings are doing over the past 10 games, that's on your right side. On your left side is their season statistics. In fact, that needs to be updated. That should say 42. There we go. So you've got the season on the left, and then you've got over the last 10 games on the right, showing you 9-1. Super important there. And, you know, this is interesting. Let's look at their records across the different periods. They're 1-0 on 0 days rest. Important. 6-1 on 1 day's rest. 1-0 on 2 days rest, and 1-0 on 3 days rest. You know why that's important to me? Because the Kings usually are not good in back-to-backs. And I know in this sample size, they only had 1 game that was a back-to-back. But even on short rest, 1 day's rest, they're 6-1. That's pretty damn good. I'm okay with that as a Kings fan. I'm getting down with it. So a lot of good stuff to talk about with this team here in Sacktown. We'll keep getting to it. Also want to talk some football. Yes, I said football in a few minutes. Get all of you involved in the show. Johnny, no worries, brother. Go Irish. If I didn't have a rule, Johnny, about grown adults wearing jerseys, I'd be wearing my Notre Dame jersey today. I would be doing it, buddy. I am rooting for the Irish 100%. I think they win the championship tonight. I really think they do. The only way, and it's funny because we were sitting up here, we were doing it on this show after the NIU loss for Notre Dame, And I think Finch and I were having the conversation. I was having the conversation with somebody. Maybe it was Corn Dog. Anyways, the conversation we were having was Riley Leonard, the quarterback for Notre Dame. Because when the Irish lost to NIU, they were just using Riley Leonard as like this drop back quarterback. And that's not what he is. The dude's a dual threat. Now, he's not Jaden Daniels' dual threat in terms of athleticism, but he's a more physical runner. I would put him in, not putting him in the same class, but what I'm saying as a runner is he's closer to a Josh Allen than a Jaden Daniels, if that makes sense. A little bit more physical, but Notre Dame was not doing a lot of those RPOs. They have one of the best running backs in the nation, if not the best. And all of the sudden, after that NIU game, things changed. They started playing like every game was win or go home, and look where it got them, to the national championship. I think one thing of importance to note about both of these teams that are in the finals tonight is they both played home games. They both played home games in the first round of the college football playoff. And I think that is so important. I would much rather get a home game than a bye. I think the energy that the teams that played at home got is just invaluable. I don't think that you can quantify it. It's the first time, and maybe it's the only time you get that type of bump, as they expand the playoff, as they look at ways to improve it. But it was the first time ever there was a playoff on campus, and there's nothing like college campuses in college football. And I know Al called in talking about Jaden Daniels and talking about how composed he is. How could you not be that composed? You played at LSU in front of 100,000 plus fans. LSU arguably is a bigger program than the New Orleans Saints. And he stayed in school. He had been to multiple schools. He'd been to Arizona State. You know who else came from LSU and was ready to play? Joe Burrow. Nick Saban said that he was the best quarterback, Jaden Daniels, coming out of college since Joe Burrow. And I think he's pretty damn spot on. He said that before the draft. And so excited for him nonetheless. But I think one thing that's also notable about tonight's final game has nothing to do with the final, but has more to do with the college football game as a whole. I believe there was only 70, it was in the low 70s, I think 71 underclassmen that are coming out of college to go to the NFL draft this year. Why is that notable? It's because of NIL. Kids are sticking around longer because they're making good money in college. In some cases, some players, their living the most money they ever make from sports might be in college, because there's a ton of great college players that never turn out to be good pros. Just doesn't work. Tim Tebow is the greatest example of that, right? So the fact that you're getting guys that are more seasoned, making money like they should be, all well and good, but it does bring up a bigger conversation. This thing's kind of like the Wild West right now. It is a good time to be in the experimental phases of NIL if you are an athlete, because I think at some point they're going to start pulling it back a little bit. It's not going to be the Wild West. I think it's going to get capped a little. And the other bigger problem that I think college football is going to have to address, and whether it's done through NIL, whatever it is, it connects with NIL and it connects with the transfer portal. The transfer portal is kind of this mess right now. It's kind of this tornado that is just destroying bowl season. If you're not in the college football championship, then bowl games really don't matter. Was there a more melodramatic and passive year of bowl games than this last season? There really wasn't. It dates back to last season, and that's because guys are opting out of playing in the bowl games and entering the transfer portal. For whatever reason, the transfer portal lines up, the timing of needing to enter it lines up with bowl season. Maybe you look at the timing there next time, but also maybe you look at the NIL too. Because if I am a big booster or I own Rhino's car dealership and RVs in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I am one of the biggest car dealers in the state, and I've got, I don't know, let's use Jaden Daniels, who's now a pro quarterback, but let's use him as my example when he was at LSU. And let's say that NIL was in effect while he was at LSU. If I have Jaden Daniels as my spokesperson of the dealership and my team didn't make the college football playoff, but they're still invited to a damn good bowl game, and he decides not to play in that bowl game, isn't that like the big thing? It's the bowl game. I get you get run during the season, but it's the bowl game. That's when you're getting a national audience. That's when you're getting all that. And he's not going to play. So I don't know what college does to kind of fix that and tweak that. But you got to think at some point, these things are going to come to a head. At some point, that ugly ass monster known as the NCAA is going to try to get involved in all this. After all, I still don't have anybody that can tell me what the NCAA does. What is the purpose of the NCAA? Does the NCAA, let me ask a couple questions. Does the NCAA, judges, does the NCAA have the best interest of its student athletes at heart? Damn. Surely. Okay, judges, surely. The NCAA reimburses the institutions for any legal costs that the NCAA pays out of the shared funds that come in from TV deals for frivolous suits. Like, I don't know, trying to decide if peanut butter over butter is considered an extra benefit if it's given to guys with bagels. Do they reimburse them for that? Is the NCAA legal? See, I make my point. I make my point. Even the judges are backing me up here. The NCAA needs to go away. It's going to get addressed eventually. But in all honesty, you got to do something. You got to kind of either allow it to be the Wild West and say you're not going to put your foot down and you're not going to come after it and just let things go. Let schools pay as much money as they want for guys to come in and play and realize that although it is not legal or it is not allowed by the NCAA to pay an athlete directly for coming to the school, you can't pay for their agreement to come to the school. Come on, man. What's the difference between just paying the athlete or saying, hey, we have a $20 million NIL deal with a booster that would like to talk to you if you sign here? Let's be real. There's no difference between the two. So NCAA, don't try to step in and enforce that bullshit. Don't. But they do, and it's not necessarily the NCAA, but whoever it is, the agents for these college players, by the way, that's another thing. Going to save the rant on it, but that is another big thing that's going to have to be looked at. They are going to have to be very careful about who they allow or who is an approved agent for some of these kids, because you've seen what happens in pro sports. We've seen the stories about agents and managers siphoning money left and right. Well, unfortunately, if the NCAA is a governing party over all of this, they're going to have to put a process in place to make sure that these kids aren't being taken advantage of. And whether you like the NCAA or you don't like them like me, I think we can all agree that we don't want these kids to get screwed by adults who don't have their best interest in mind. Although that's what the NCAA kind of is, right? But anyways, you get what I'm saying. I am looking forward to this one tonight. I think Notre Dame wins it. I do. Just something about this team feels different. Something feels very different. So there's my college football take for the day. Let me know who you got winning this thing tonight. I've got some NFL as well. Got the Rhinos coming up. What's up, BJ? Happy, excellent, blessed Monday. Thank you, sir. Hope you are having a great Monday as well. Let's see. Chat popping. Love it. Suns also lost. Rooting for the Celtics. Yeah, Ken, it's going to be funny to see how much Steph Curry plays and how it affects his availability for Wednesday. It will be very, very interested to see that tonight. So that game is ongoing. We've still got a lot of show left here on the Kings Court. Going to do some Rhinos in a second. Also going to talk NFL. A lot of Kings still on the show. Doug Christie, one last time at the podium last night.
Part of what you do offensively?
Yeah, working with Domas these last 3 summers, just watching him go about his business, like working through it with him, talking through it with him, up at early mornings, late nights in the gym. Like it's really impressive. Not necessarily the outcome, but the confidence that you see in him. Like, I want him to shoot the ball, he shoots the ball. Now all of a sudden the pump fake comes in. Like he's reading the game. Which is crazy because he's an all-NBA player, but it's almost like it's slowed down even more, which is out of control. But yeah, to say proud of Domas, proud of and for him, because he's a special player, and I think that the world is beginning to see what he brings to the game and the talents that we get to watch, but also his teammates get to feed off of, because he's not a selfish player. So big time stuff from him, man. Like, he's shooting that thing.
Coach DC, you had 7 points late in the third quarter from that bench until Keon came in and hit a couple of threes, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Are you a little concerned about that when even though, he was able to pull away, production-wise, about other players getting involved? I know Kevin didn't have the night that he wanted to have, but did that stay in your mind when you had those type of issues?
No, I mean, Kevin is important for us, and Kevin is going to make shots. It's as simple as that. Like, he's going to get opportunity, and when he does, it's going to fall. And when it falls, it's going to help us in ways that we probably can't even see right now. But yeah, you want your bench to have production, and some nights it's going to be one player like Keon, and some nights it's going to be a couple players, meaning Keon defensively locks some people down, gets some steals, it hits free throws, and Kevin gets 5 threes. Like, it's just, it's a timing thing. It's a confidence thing. It's all those. The basketball is just like that. It's a game of ebbs and flows. And for me, like, do you worry? I would probably worry about a lot of things, but they'll be just fine. I got the utmost confidence in Kevin, and I know that he's going to get in the gym and continue to stay in the gym the way that
Kevin Huerter, only 6 minutes until garbage time last night. Let's get you updated really quick on the NBA. How about this? Here was the West coming in to play a couple hours ago today, but at halftime, Celtics blowing out the Warriors 54-39. Steph Curry did not play very well at all. Played 17 minutes, 3 of 9 from the field, 1 of 7 from beyond the arc, and 9 points. So you wonder if that ankle is feeling right, because his looked worse than Keon's. If you saw Steph get hurt, that did not look good. So definitely keeping an eye on that. Things have broken well for the Kings today, ahead of them in the West. If you're just tuning in, gave you that score. But you still have the Jazz and Pelicans to come pulling for the Jazz. Well, it doesn't really matter, actually, that one. Probably pulling for the Jazz because the Pelicans are getting healthier and they're going to continue to get better as the season goes along. The Kings have 2 games with them coming up in February. Bulls and Clippers later tonight, but the Mavericks lose earlier against the Hornets, so that helps the Kings out 110-105. The Rockets lose as well to the Pistons. Grizzlies knock off the T-Wolves, and the Suns also losers to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So what y'all up to today? Going for another 20 or so minutes here on the Kings Court. Thanks for being here. National title game coming up. We've been talking Kings, talking trades. Might go Kings. Yes, indeed. All right. It's Monday, so I do have a Rido for you. It's not the easiest. So you know what? We should probably get the imaging in here, right? It wouldn't be a Rido without a few good Homer Simpson does. My first one's going to be really, really simple. If you've been watching this show for a while, then you know there's an ongoing developing situation in this household that we are currently working on. But yeah, let's get to the Ridos. Don't. So the first one is, and I'm not going to put it on my kids. And if you're new, Ridos are things that make me go, don't, that have happened during the week or something I've seen, whatever. But let's say preteen kids, maybe hypothetically 10-year-olds getting too caught up in the world of cuss words and bad words. I don't know how it happens these days. Probably the iPad. They're exposed to things that they shouldn't be, even though you can do your best as a parent to kind of sway them away. No, you shouldn't be watching that. But yeah, when we're being asked questions, do you know what is in the word class? And we're thinking, oh, class. It's class. You go to school. No, ass. ASS. We're knee deep in it. Pray for us, please. Pray for us. Anyways, here's my other one. I was watching football this weekend, as many of you were. And look, we sometimes feel like we don't always get the best commentary here in Sacktown during our telecasts. And I have no problem with Katie Christensen. I think she tries hard. I don't think she has a regularity. She doesn't have a person helping her through the spot that she's in. She went from sideline reporter to full-time analyst, and there's not that one person. Her partner. Who is her partner? Well, it's hard to answer. Sometimes it's Kyle Draper. Sometimes it's Mark Jones. And so this talk ends up all the time on our shows. We'll be out doing the post-game show, and it'll be about the analysts. It'll be about, whoa, did you hear what so-and-so said, right? Well, there's one person on the national stage that is starting to wear very thin on a lot of people. And it might be because of the extraordinary amount of gems that this guy drops, or just talking over his play-by-play. It's Tony Romo. If you're not familiar with Tony Romo's work, let me give you a little sample size of the best of Tony Romo.
Here we go. Right adjust. And he's down. So little. Wow. Not the catch. We'll see. It happen. Let's see. Well, Cooks got him. But right. Oh boy. It's perfect. Speed. Spinagan. Not now. Wait. Wow. Whoa. Whack.
Whack. So Tony Romo is wearing thin on some people's patience. I'm kind of one of them to a degree. Really quick, on pace for 44 wins, yes, but the schedule gets considerably harder, Mike. That's the problem. The Kings schedule is a bear the rest of the way. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. The Kings broadcasters are horrible. They always lift up the opposing team. Feels like I'm watching an away broadcast every time. So I disagree with you. I don't disagree with some of your complaints, but I disagree that they're horrible. I think Kyle and Katie do a good job. I wish Kyle and Katie were the full-time people doing the shows. 100%. Doing the games. Let them do it all the time. You will have a better product. Period. End of story. Because there's a consistency, not just for Katie, but for Kyle as well. Now, Kyle's consistency is he's always knows he's going to be working with Katie. Whereas the other way around, Katie is like, oh, is it Mark? Is it Kyle? Two different styles, two different people. And for me, I feel the buy-in from Katie. It's like this basketball team, right? It's just like how we've wondered why the Golden One Center is not a friendly place for the Kings to play. Why is it not working? Why are they 3, 4, 5, 6 games below 500 at home? Right? And then all of a sudden, you're starting to see this Doug Christie stuff click, where the defense turns to offense. You're seeing these guys go all out. That's what gets the crowd going. A Kings game before was boring to go to, because at best you were going to see a couple of dunks and some made three-pointers. You weren't seeing the little things that made Sacramento fans into what Sacramento fans are, the best and most knowledgeable in the NBA. How'd they get there? Not always by watching good basketball. But one thing that was undeniable about Sacramento back in the day was they might not win, but they played their asses off. Played so hard. There was a buy-in. Doug Christie keeps talking about it. This buy-in, the non-negotiables. When those are on the court, win or lose, this crowd gets behind you. Kyle and Katie, their buy-in is there. I feel their passion. I know Kyle's from Boston, but I feel like he's one of ours now. Mark Jones, not at all. Couldn't be further from Kyle. Mark Jones is an awful local broadcaster. Awful. Say what you want about him on the national stage, but here in Sacramento, he is awful. The passion you get out of him during games is about this much. The dude is on cruise control and here to collect a paycheck. So you see that in the way it's reflected in the broadcast. Give me Kyle and Katie. I'm good with it. I don't have a problem with them. I think you would see the product slowly improve. Slowly improve. In fact, I'm not even going to say slowly. You would see the product improve much better. Now, I will say this about Katie. I will be honest about this. The one thing that could get her, in my opinion, into some weird territory is if she keeps going in on the refs the way she's been going in on the refs. This better be good. Interrupting the Rido segment. Let's check it out. Kings Court, you're on the air.
Hey, Rhino, this is Sal. Are you, can you hear me?
Yeah, got you, brother.
Nice. I'm traveling. I'm driving right now, and I just wanted to, I've been listening to the show. Hey, you know, I'm not a Fox fan in the side of him being a point guard and stuff, but what I am excited about is keeping him to the end of the year. I'm excited that if he could potentially, you know, start to buy in, and which, I mean, it seems like things are starting to fall better in the place. And for me, it's like body language and how he approaches the game. So it seems like there's been a little bit of a change, but I don't want to get too pumped up, but I'm thinking positive about that. If they could at least make a little bit of a run, and I don't know, I'm not saying playoffs and stuff, but play hard enough to blue collar, I think it's in the right. The trajectory's in the right spot. It's going upward. It's not like, if you think about it, I went to the game in Dallas and against Dallas, and when I got into the arena, it's like it's brand new and it's beautiful and stuff, but it's very aesthetic and sterile. It's like opening a gauze out of a paper that's all sterile to me, as opposed to Arco. But with Doug Christie, the way everything came about, we're really making the best out of how everything has articulated. And I'm excited to see what happens with Fox. I think it's a personal, if he buys into the system and we could somehow, make a run, more power to the Kings. And that's the thing about basketball and this city, is that we have to go through trials and, be pushed and challenged to be great. So we have to pay the price, and we still got to play against teams that have gotten much further than us. But I think with the character and the way they're playing now, it's certainly something to build on. And I'm just excited about it, honestly, even though I rag on Fox. And how are you doing, my man? I haven't really talked with you much lately.
Yeah, brother, all is good, man. You described the Golden One Center really well there. That was perfect. I've never heard it described that way, but you're right. Like sterile and kind of. Do Kings fans almost feel? I think we feel a little awkward there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I didn't even go. I felt so. I went to my seat. I had good seats. It was in the lower bowl, and it was right off where the bathrooms were, and I could see. It was like the end zone seats, basically.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, man, I should go up there and walk to the top, because, in Arco, I would get the nosebleeds, and, I saw Bird and all those guys and like old school dudes in 88, 89. And then for some reason, I never made myself, I just kind of just sat there, went to the bathroom, got something. I didn't get anything to eat, got a beverage, but it was very, Doug Christie's right. It's very metal. It's very aesthetic. It's very sterile. It's shiny. It's beautiful. But we can make it a beautiful, rugged. It's a nice facility, and if it's really the product, they go out there and play blue collar. The Kings fans will be there and back them no matter what, as long as they play hard. So I'm excited. I hope Fox feels that, and I hope he feels it in his heart, and that he plays. And that's all we really want to see. If he doesn't want to be here, that's fine too. We probably could get a couple good guys for him. So, anyway, love you, my man.
Appreciate it. Love you too, brother. Be well. Good job by BJ calling in. It's not that Fox doesn't want to be here. He's on the record saying he wants to be in Sacramento. He wants to win in Sacramento. And I think that is the very crossroads of what this all comes to. It's if you can win with De'Aaron Fox, what does it look like? Because to me, it's bigger than De'Aaron Fox. It's not that if you have De'Aaron Fox, you can win. I think De'Aaron Fox is a piece to winning. And it's not the 1A piece. It's not the guy that you build around. He is a very good piece. In fact, I would say the way the Kings are going right now, what Doug Christie is preaching, and as the comparisons, not in how good this team is compared to the 2002-2003 team, but styles of play, there's been a lot of comparisons lately to that people have made in the media, that we've talked about on this show. Keon Ellis being like Doug Christie. I think on the telecast last night, you heard some of Katie, or not Katie, but Monk being like Bobby, et cetera, et cetera. That team wasn't built around one piece whatsoever. And they had multiple ways that they could beat you, but the number one way that they beat you was playing together as one. I got to do in 2007. So you see that sitting behind me right there, up there? You see that guy? Jim Rome? Yeah, Romy. He came here for a station visit in 2000 and was it 2007? Yep, January 6th, 2007. And I was able to wiggle my way into the studio, and Grant was there, Peja was there, Vlade was there, Uriah Faber was there, and Jim was doing his show from the studio. And so he's doing his show, and his producer was like, "Hey, does anybody want to go on with Jim and talk about what it's like to be a Kings fan? What it's like to be, in Sacramento, what this team means to the city." 'Cause remember, this was right after. This was the year the Golden One Center opened. And shortly, 2 years before that, we thought we were losing our team. So, of course, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, right? I could, to that point, I had never lobbed a phone call to Romy, ever, 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 but I had been listening to the show since 2002. And I couldn't get 2 words out of my mouth that made sense. Could not get 2 words out of my mouth. And I'm like, there's no way that I'm going to go on. And sure enough, it's like, hey, come up here, man. And so I ended up doing 4 or 5 minutes with Jim about the Kings. And at the end of the conversation, it couldn't have been any better. It went great. Something came over me, and it was awesome. It's actually the inspiration of why I wanted to start doing this. But anyways, the point of it is, the conversation him and I were having after breaking down what it means to be a Sacramento fan, what this team means to the city, was my take. And this was right in the middle of the Warriors doing what the Warriors were doing with championships. 2017, excuse me, not 2007. It was right in the middle of the Warriors championships. And I said, yeah, the Kings, though, Jim, were the team that kind of changed the game in terms of 5-man chemistry, in terms of passing, in terms of 5 playing as one. The Kings kind of set that book up. They wrote that book. There's never been chemistry on a basketball court like there was with those 5 guys, 6 guys, 7 guys, whatever you want to say the rotation, 8 guys. And they were a family off the court. Doug is obviously pushing that way. The stuff they're doing off the court, they went to an escape room not too long ago. They're doing more mental stuff, trying to, I guess, be more than just a basketball team. Get to know each other on a different level, which you can be together with guys for 3-4 years. But if you don't open up to each other, then you're just dudes on the team, right? You're acquaintances. You play on a team together. That team that Doug was on, that wasn't the case. Those dudes lived on the same block in some cases. So this is my roundabout way of saying Doug Christie understands not only the chemistry and what it takes to be successful in this NBA, and in some cases, I don't think that Warriors team comes along and plays the style that they did without this Kings team in 2001, 2002. Now, the Warriors took it to the next level. The Warriors changed the game in terms of three-point shooting. Steph Curry changed 2 positions, one of which he's never played, the center position. So they wrote the handbook on three-point shooting, but the 5-man basketball, the positionless basketball, Doug Christie and his Kings wrote the book there. And I think that was the foundation for what the Warriors became. So this is my roundabout way of saying Christie gets what makes this fan base go. And it's not necessarily the wins and losses all the time. And that's what you've seen at the Golden One Center as of late. That's part of the Kings' success there. The things that the Kings have been doing to win those games are the things that the crowd reacts to the most. It's the things that gets the crowd going. Yeah, a nice dunk's cool. A three-point shot's awesome. We want to see people diving on the floor. We want to see 4 rebounds in a row and then a trip to the foul line. That's the stuff that really, at your core, Kings fans will always be loud, but the genuineness, that roar that we talk about, that roar that you used to see on T-shirts in the early 2000s that you'd have to go to Food for Less to get, because you have to buy like 3 cases of Pepsi. Feel the roar. That's when you get that real roar. When it's the hustle plays, when it's the defense into offense, when it's the 5 as 1. So again, in my roundabout way of saying this, it's you can't have one player in Sacramento that the game is centered around. You just can't. It starts with 2, but then slowly that turns into 5. And you got 5 guys that are playing really well together. And that transition that BJ is talking about, I think that's important. You know, there were parts of C-Webb's game that he had to pull back on to be successful with that team. There were individual sacrifices that C-Webb had to make at times with his statistics for the team's success. And maybe that's the same with Foxy. I thought Doug really struck a chord last night. And I hope that a lot of these people where it's like Fox or bust, I thought that Doug really explained that there's more than points, because Fox can fill up that line, but that doesn't necessarily bring the best out of this fan base. When you bring that roar, you bring that genuinity out of a Kings fan. And when you do it, not just out of 1, but you do it out of 17,253 or whatever it is that the G1C holds, that is an insurmountable challenge for a road team to come in and beat the Kings on their home court when you've got that behind you. And up until recently, that had not shown its face the entire time the Kings have been in that building, including the playoffs. It was loud as shit during the playoffs. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't that loud. And what I mean by that loud, it's that that we are all in, engaged, loving what we're seeing. They're loud about winning, sure, but when you get this fan base behind you that way, when you're playing that style, oh, buddy, watch out. That's why Arco was such an insurmountable task for visiting teams to come in and take on. It just was. And it correlates with style of play. So I'm interested to see where this style of play goes, but I just don't think the Foxy style of play. I mean, look, he had 60 points. The Kings lost that game. That's fun for a night, but for a season, that's not what I don't think it's what the fan base. If you took a silent vote between the fan base, it would always go team over individual. And this is not a De'Aaron Fox attack. It's just De'Aaron Fox's game is more of an ISO game. So last night you saw a very good balance between both of those worlds. So to BJ's call, if, you know, there's certain parts of De'Aaron's game that he's willing to concede or maybe pull back on a little bit, and not because you got to understand there's areas where players can pull back a little bit, but them pulling back and sacrificing a tiny bit from what might benefit them more individually can make the rest of the team benefit more as a whole overall 2 times, 3 times more than it would that person individually. And so I think that is where the biggest discussion comes, and that's the 3-point shot for De'Aaron Fox. I think the 3-point shot for Foxy is the absolute kryptonite to the style of team basketball that this team wants to play and could play. De'Aaron only shot 5 of them last night, because when you don't have De'Aaron taking 12 threes and instead you have him passing up an open 3 to drive the lane or to penetrate, the opportunities that are created from driving and penetrating, whether it be kicking out for an open 3-pointer, whether it be, and here's the difference between Fox taking an open 3-pointer and getting 3 points on the board versus Fox penetrating, kicking out, and having a teammate get 3 points on the board. That penetrate, that kick, that puts pressure on the defense, number one. Number two, the defense is now going to have to worry about Foxy being a threat to drive. It's going to change how way they have to guard him. It's going to change a little bit how they help on their defense altogether. And then the pass and the kick and the 3 to your teammate, that builds that chemistry. That's getting somebody else involved. Doug Christie talked about it. There is energy in the basketball, and it's so true. There's a reason that when Trey Lyles is shooting it well, when Keegan Murray is shooting it well, when Keon Ellis is shooting it well, it's when the ball is flying around the horn and not stopping for a good look. You got to make the ball stop for a great look. If it's a great look, you got to take it. But good looks you can recreate. So in that situation, Fox kicks out. Now you've got 2 guys involved rather than one. And you've got the defense that's going to have to react or change something that they're doing. What if you drive and kick and somebody gets fouled? Then they go to the free throw line. What's the effect on the game there? The other team has another foul. Team fouls go up 1. You get free points with the clock stopped. You get my point. And the free throw shooting is another massive reason why this game or why this team has had the success and why their numbers stayed the same. Their free throw made free throws are up like almost 13% from last season, which last season were down 21+% from the playoff season. So that's part of the reason the numbers this season stayed steady and looked good, even though the Kings were losing. So what I'm saying is, yes, Fox could fit into all of this, but there is a buy-in there. I think BJ's right. I think there's part of Fox that wants to be the star. He wants to be the number one. Here's the bottom line. In Sacramento, historically, you don't have number ones. Let's be frank for a second, Sacramento. You have never had a number one player in this market. Ever, ever, ever. You have never had that number one. What you have had is 5 guys who play together and play better than any one person could ever play on their own in the NBA. So I think BJ brings up a really good point. And then once you have that conversation, and there's a lot of different ways we could come out on that, but once that conversation's had, it's the money. It's do you want to pay De'Aaron? Let's be real about this. If we look at the numbers, Domas this year's making 40.5. Next year, he'll be making 43.6. The year after that, 46.7. And then in 27-28, Domas will be making 49.9. Fox is going to want to be paid more than Domas, right? I would think he's going to want to be paid more. So I believe the max that the Kings can pay him, I forget what the number was. It was in the neighborhood of, it was like 160 over, it was like 163 over 4 years, I want to say off the top of my head. So do you want, do you think that is money well spent? Because De'Aaron would then be going into, when that contract is in effect, he will be going into year 9 of his career. So those things that make De'Aaron special, the speed, the quickness, again, fastest player I've ever seen with the basketball, his innate ability to be clutch, those things, I think the clutch only gets stronger as the years go on because he has more experiences. But you got to think the speed's going to slow down at some point. You got to think there's going to be a little bit of attrition. Usually when you hit year 8, year 9, you are, and that would be year 9 in the NBA when he is playing on a new contract. You know, that's usually prime years and then downhill from there. So those are the big different pieces floating out in the ether, ways the Kings can navigate this, what it means. But the bottom line is the reason that I am the most encouraged about this team, and we'll learn more as the season goes along. Game 43 on Wednesday against the Warriors on national TV here in Sacktown. And then after that, they hit the road, y'all. Jason Williams was not a number 1. When I say number 1, I'm talking Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaq, Allen Iverson. You've never had that number 1 ever. I mean, some franchises have never had that number 1 either. The only way that a franchise like the Kings gets that number 1 is typically through the draft. That's the only way. How did Giannis end up in a small market? He was drafted there. How did LeBron end up in Cleveland? He was drafted there. I know that's his hometown. But you get my point. You got to draft well. So, yeah, a lot of money. He would be the number, well, I don't know if he'd be making more than Domas. He probably would. He would want to make more than Domas. So that would be the piece that you are, because remember with this CBA, and when we talk about number 1s and we talk about team construction, I know we had a big conversation about it earlier with the Stockton Kings and also how important player development and drafting is these days. And back to the Cam Johnson conversation, do you want to give up possibly 2 first-round picks is what is being reported. A couple of first-round picks would probably get it done. Is that something you want to give up? Because you can only tie your boat to like 2 players, money-wise, like that. And they need to be your own free agents for the most part. So if you do it again with Fox, it's going to be Fox and Sabonis for the next foreseeable future. In fact, you would then in year 2 of De'Aaron's new contract, it would be a contract year for Sabonis. So 27-28 would be a contract year for Sabonis, which is year 2 of De'Aaron's, because after that, it's not the old NBA where you can go get another star, you can do all that. It is going to be draft picks, and possibly if you make a move right now and give up draft picks, then that would be your only hope to really get that next piece outside of whoever you got from a trade. So there is a lot on the table here. Literally, when I say the crossroads of basketball for the next 5 years here in Sacramento are going to be on the line this offseason, they will. They absolutely will. So very good chat. And I'm just so excited that we get to have this talk. Like, seriously, like we thought this thing was done when Mike Brown got fired. Y'all remember Matt George's intro to his show? Welcome back to Sacramento hell, or welcome back to basketball hell, Sacramento. Like truer words had never been spoken. That day felt like it, and now this team is relevant. They are the hottest team in the NB freaking A. They've won 9 out of 10. So I'm just lucky and happy, like all of you probably are, to be sitting here talking about relevant basketball and relevant decisions here in the capital city. Paige has started the three-point shooting. Yep, those squeaky floors had magic in them. Dude, Arco, man. Nothing like the old barn. Mieo, what's up, man? Golden One needs wood floors to get that Arco Thunder back. Yes, that was part of it. That was for sure part of it. Where the metal meets the wood. Oh my gosh. We used to have a home video. We got to play at Arco Arena for one of my games, and my little brother was running around and he was looking like this direction, and he didn't realize that there was a chair in front of him, and he just hits the chair and he falls down, and you just see the camera zoom in on the wooden floor, like looking to find him. And it's just like those Arco wooden floors. Just nothing freaking like them. Golden One Center is amazing. We just need to give some Arco Thunder. That's Jordy. That's what I'm saying, man. This brand of basketball. Doug Christie encapsulated it really well the other day, although his little analogy at the end was kind of funny. This is true. Here's Doug one more time.
You know, Arco Arena had its own, there was wood and metal and concrete, and when you start bouncing all that together, it makes strange sounds. And this building is beginning to define itself. Golden One Center is part of my message to them is like, nobody comes in your house messing with your stuff. You must protect your house. And to watch the way that they continuously fight possession after possession after possession. And I know from being somebody who played in front of these people that they truly, truly appreciate when you open your coat and you say, this is me, baby. I'm here and this is what I'm going to do. So for me, like, that's like a super huge thing, is like when you come to SAC, we're getting down. And I love what the guys are bringing.
It's that grittiness. It is that thing. It's that roar that I was talking about that's being unlocked by the style of basketball. It's the 5 playing as one. It's the hustle plays. It's the grind. That's what brings the roar out. That is what has brought out what feels like old times in a very small sample size in both this fan base and these players. So can it continue? We will see, but a very good time. Much more exciting time to be a Kings fan than it was just about a month and a half ago. What I was going to get to, and we'll end here really quick. I like Monk too, for sure. Love Monk. John Finch, I'm down. I build stuff out of wood every day. Yeah, I don't know if Vivek's really going to go for that. You know, you might want to check with him first. Starting over with a better squad. Okay, Kings winning last night was a page turning to the better for the season. Normally a trap game. Completely agree. I'm with you 100%. Good observation by you, Ed. So really quick, when I was doing my Rido and then BJ called and we got off of it, here's what I was getting to. Tony Romo, my man, I know you're quirky. I know you like to say Jim a million times and you like to step all over your Hall of Fame broadcast partner. But now it's just getting downright creepy watching a football game that Tony Romo is broadcasting. Listen to this.
Never touched it, man. That's a catch.
Whoa. One more time, Tony.
Oh. Never touched him. That's a catch.
And then it got even weirder. Tony. Come on, man. Tony. Are we doing this during NFL games? He's getting to be a little bit too much. In fact, I think I'm turning the page on Tony Romo, where it's just like, I'm good with it. Does Tony Romo bother you? Yes. Do you like Tony Romo? Yes. Tony Romo is just turning into his own thing. Tony Romo is going to do what Tony Romo wants to do.
Never touched him. That's a catch.
Like, it's Tony Romo's world, and we're all just living in it. So anybody complaining about Tony Romo anymore, just go dope, because it's just going to be the way it's going to be. Period. End of story. His weird noises. I mean, did you catch the montage at the beginning? Did you catch the montage at the beginning of this?
Here we go. Right just. And he's down. So little. Wow. Not the catch. We'll see. It happen. Let's see. Well, Cooks got him. But it's a bullet. It's a bullet. It's a bullet. Right. Oh, boy. It's perfect. Speed. Spinagan. Not now. Wait. Wow. Whoa. Whack.
Whack. What if I told you that was all from one game? That's one game of Tony Romo. One game. Good job, John. Good job, buddy. By the way, I spent some time, we're going to close here. I spent some time this weekend doing what I said I was going to do, and I still need your help in participation. I am putting together the brackets. Yes. If you were not here last week, we, in the month of March, are going to have a March sports movie madness bracket, because an impromptu discussion here on the channel broke out about the best sports movies ever. So we've got a decent group of them. I am still taking your suggestions. If there's a sports movie, whether it is fiction or nonfiction, that you think belongs in the bracket, put them in the chat. Keep putting them in. I don't care if you pop in sometime this week for only a couple minutes and a movie comes to mind, you put it in the chat, I'll see it. I'll see it after the show. I'm putting the bracket together. Now, what we're going to do is you're going to be able to vote on the bracket. So we will do the individual matchups in March. I'm going to put the bracket together, and then I will come to you, the King's Court Committee. You will also be the bracket committee. There's something you don't like about the bracket, we will discuss it. We will agree on a bracket, and then each matchup, we will vote on them. We'll keep the bracket going until we get down to a final four, and then ultimately the last two, and we will decide what is the best sports movie of all time. So I'm trying to figure out who my number one seeds are. I'm trying to be unbiased. It's really, really hard. It's really hard not to give a 1 seed to Rudy. I got to give Rudy a 1 seed. Somebody's going to have to talk me out of a 1 seed for Rudy. Angels in the outfield. It's in there. It's 100% in there. Angels in the outfield will be there. No, see, we're not doing it by sport. It's a 32-team tournament. You're going to have fiction and nonfiction mixed together. We're only doing 32 movies. I think, Cristobal, I think Angels in the Outfield will make the cut into the 32. But we're not going to, like, if you have, say, the Rocky movies or the Karate Kid movies, those are going to be just one movie. So it'll be the Rocky series. It'll be the Karate Kid series. We're not going to have Rocky 1, Rocky 2. So Happy Gilmore, I think Happy Gilmore is for sure going to be in there. Haven, I will make sure Happy Gilmore is in there. I said that when this discussion started last week. I think it was last Thursday when this all started. So, the biggest tragedy about Happy Gilmore is that they're making a second one. Haven, you can't be happy they're making a second one. I'm not exactly happy that they're making a second one. Just don't do it. It never works out the way that it is supposed to work out. It just doesn't. Yeah, Dumb and Dumber was good, but it wasn't Dumb and Dumber all this time, and you're going to do another Happy Gilmore? I just don't. Why mess with perfection? There's just so much right about that movie. So much right. And I just feel like you're going to mess it up and you're going to try to make jokes on some of the really good stuff. Don't do it. Field of Dreams. Okay. Have not seen Field of Dreams. Longest Yard. I believe that got thrown in there. See, and that's the biggest thing. I feel like some people are going to be offended by where movies are seated in this case, because you're going to have two sides of the bracket. Right? Right, Haven? Yes. They are currently making a Happy Gilmore 2. Can you believe that? I know. I'm with you. Don't do it. Leave it alone. Let it be. Use AI. Yeah. I'm telling you, AI might have won the weekend this weekend. Coming off of the football stuff, coming off of everything else going on in the world today, a lot going on. Yeah, I guess AI could maybe do it if I put the movies in and ask it to rank them. Sandlot will be in there. They could do another Happy Gilmore or another Happy Cat Gilmore as long as it's the same exact. That's the problem. It's the problem. I have not seen Field of Dreams. I know. MC, my man. I am not well textured when it comes to movies. I said this when the conversation started. It will blow you away what movies I have seen and haven't seen, because there's probably some obscure stuff that I have seen and some very obvious things that I've never seen. Field of Dreams, I have not seen start to finish. I know, man. I'm telling you all too much. I'm giving you way, way too much information about me. Yeah, Scarface is not a horse. See, we already set the borders on this. We set the boundaries. We are not going to sneak in movies into the sports genre because there is a sport that is part of a bigger movie. We're not doing that. If we were doing that, then I would be lobbying for Silver Linings Playbook every day of the week. I'm lobbying for Silver Linings Playbook. Can't do that, BJ. It'd be impossible to get down to 32 movies. It would be impossible. The movie has to center around the sport. I'll give you guys a movie that probably most of you have not seen, but I'm considering giving it some consideration. I think it's let me remember the name of it really quick. Let me get this. I want to make sure that I have it right. Somebody better be with me. Goon. Has anybody seen Goon with Stifler? Goon is a really good sports movie. It's a fiction, but it's a really good sports movie. I might try to find a way to sneak Goon in there. Iron Claw has been suggested. Yeah, as long as we don't have to watch it. I don't need to see Zac Efron all roided out. Varsity Blues. Don't disagree. A tan. It's a damn good movie. Man, see, this is where we get into trouble. You could do 32 nonfiction and 32 fiction and have 2 brackets if you wanted to. But we are literally going to break it down to 32. So as I said, Rudy, I think should be a 1 seed. You can see where everybody can make their own argument on what should be a 1 seed. So we will run the bracket by you, but keep them coming. There's Quidditch and Harry Potter. See, John, you're my problem right now, man. You're trying to sneak stuff in. It's not going to work, John. I'm trying to run a clean tournament here, John. Come on, man. Don't do it to me, John.
It's tougher than a $2 steak.
He just keeps trying. John, man. It's tough working with you, dude. I'm trying to make this a really, really good March, a movie March where we finally define what is the best sports movie ever. And we do it in a fair and democratic process. I want it to be of a bracket. So let's get it together. Keep them coming. Cristobal, yes, I think that qualifies 100%. Dodgeball's going to be in the conversation. There's just so many good ones. Hoosiers, see, Bobby Hill chiming in. Probably the other number 1 seed. You know, I think the more I think about it, if I put Rudy as a 1 seed, I'm being a homer. I can't do it. When you mention movies like Hoosiers, I mean, there's some really, really good stuff in the sports genre, both nonfiction and fiction. It's going to be fun. Horse racing. Yeah, you want to get some Seabiscuit in there. There is a lot of good stuff. So this is going to be a fun tournament. Everybody's going to get to vote on it. So we will continue bringing it up and bringing up nominees. But I have started outlining the bracket. I've got the spreadsheet. I've taken down all of the movie names that have been in the chat over the last 4 or 5 days. And I am hoping to have a bracket to present to you within the next couple weeks. But that means your picks, your suggestions, you gotta keep them coming. Yeah, you know, Sandlot. How is Sandlot not a possible number 1 seed? This is where it gets murky. 32 movies. That is hard to get down to. 32. Goonies. No. Have you ever seen Goon? Goon is a good hockey movie. It's a really good hockey movie. It's probably a little bit offbeat. So I haven't seen Field of Dreams, but I've seen Goon. So there you go. But anyways, all right, we're out. Go enjoy the national championship. Getting ready to kick off here in just a few minutes. Notre Dame and Ohio State. John, man, I think it's time for the Irish. I am rooting for the Irish in this one. This will be great. I agree. I hope it is much different from the last time the Irish were in the title game. That was not much of a game at all. That game was about as real as Manti Te'o's girlfriend. That's how bad that game was. So hopefully the Irish show up tonight. I don't see any way that they don't under Marcus Freeman. They could possibly get, well, okay, Julius Erving in Rucker Park documentaries. Okay, BJ, now you're screwing with me, bro. You know why? Because if you're going to bring up documentaries, now you're opening up Pandora's box. What about Hoop Dreams? Anybody see Hoop Dreams from like back in the 80s or 90s where it follows the 2 Chicago kids that are chasing a college scholarship? Like Hoop Dreams, if we're going documentaries, we can't do documentaries. You can't do it. You can't get down to 32 if you're going to include sports documentaries. The Last Dance, like I could go on for days. The Tiger Woods one. I mean, shoot. I just don't see it. I got Seabiscuit RC. What are you guys? Okay, you guys are now we're getting a little bit out of control. I am losing.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
The show right now. I am losing the show. So we're going to get ready to wrap up the damn show. What a good day, man. It has
Light
been
the beam!
a fun
Light
one
it!
for Draymond Green, for our guy. Okay. John, did you really see? Finchy, did you really see Hoop Dreams, or are you just saying that? What was it? Do you remember the name of one of the kids? I do. See, okay. Proposing that we do documentaries.
It's outrageous, egregious, preposterous.
We can't do it. We can't do it. I just checked in with my attorney, Jackie.
It's outrageous, egregious, preposterous.
Here's the problem. Okay, I'm seeing this. 64 would be good. Here's my worry. My worry about doing 64 is this. That's a lot of voting. I think a lot of you are going to get poo-pooed and tired out by the time we get down to what? The final four? How many times? I didn't ask for documentaries, though. I asked for movies. Now you open it up to documentaries because you have 32 votes alone in just the first round. I think it's too much. It's too much, I'm telling you. We've got to do 32. We're going to work it down. We'll figure out a way to do it. Tomorrow, same schedule. Yeah, see, here we go. Documentaries rolling in. Documentaries. Damn it, y'all.
Pick a side.
What are we doing? 64 now or 32? That's what happens when I open it up. It's what freaking happens. All right. We're going to bounce. Go enjoy the title game. We'll be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. right here on the channel. Make sure you're subscribed. We'd greatly appreciate it. All of you are the best. By the way, news. Looks like Wednesday, good friend of the channel, Damon Bruce. Him and I have been talking. If you're not familiar with Damon's work, you really should be. Legend in the Bay Area sports talk world, now running his own channel and doing it with great success. Damon's channel has grown tremendously. Covers the Niners, covers the Warriors, covers a lot of Bay Area stuff. Also works with Larry Krueger sometimes, crosses over with him. Damon was doing watch parties during the 49ers games. Those became very popular. Damon and I teamed up last season a couple of times, but we are looking to maybe team up on Wednesday to bring you some type of joint coverage for the Kings and the Warriors, going over both teams, talking some NBA. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We'll be announcing little things like that. So yeah, we are efforting Damon for Wednesday if it works for our schedules, but we will be here nonetheless with game day coverage and much more for you. Also, make sure you're following the Kings Court audio. We upload additional audio outside of this show for you over there. So check it out. Appreciate each and every one of you. Make it a great rest of the day. Thanks for hanging in there. Marathon of a day. Happy MLK Day. And let's hope this Western Conference continues to break the way that it is breaking today, and we get a loss from Golden State. Looks that way. We'll see if it holds up. Also, wouldn't mind seeing the Clippers lose later tonight. Love it when the Kings make up ground. In fact, the game is final, 125-85. The Celtics roll over the Warriors. Let's look really quick at the box. I want to see how many minutes Steph Curry played before we get out the door. Steph Curry played 27 minutes. 27 minutes. Most played by a Warrior, but they definitely pulled back. Actually, no. Moody played 32 minutes. So Curry, not a great game. We'll see how that ankle responds. Only 10 points, but the Warriors lose. Everybody in front of the Kings right now of significance, or that the Kings could possibly chase down, have lost today. All good stuff. Yes, it doesn't make any sense. No, not Reggie. The guy's name was Arthur. Arthur. Come on now. All right, go Kings. Light the damn beam. Stay the hell away from Levine. We're back tomorrow, 1 p.m.
Light the beam! Light it!
Court is dismissed.